Welcome to session 3 of the Empowered Mindset Virtual Retreat. Today, we'll start with a 30-minute mindful movement practice focused on strengthening your abs and back. The abdominals, obliques, and muscles along the back all help to protect the spine. And as we learned in session 1, the spine protects the spinal cord, our nervous system's messaging pass-through between brain and body. Keeping our bodies strong keeps our brain strong. As always, honor where your body is at. Pause this webinar and let's move. Welcome back. In this session, we'll focus on outer work. Pillars 4 through 6 are more about how we interact with our world directly. Some might suggest that it is challenging or even traumatic experiences that build resilience. However, I believe that without the tools, support, and a framework for understanding our current mindset and developing an empowered mindset, trauma can keep us stuck in a loop of pain, shame, blame, anger, and bitterness. I might not have learned how to heal from my own traumatic experiences had I not had a supportive husband, friends, an excellent therapist, and knowledge about the tools and practices that could help me through. In a LinkedIn article called How Creating a Climate of Confidence Could Help Women Succeed, Lauren Dawson quotes Sally Helgesen. Confidence is the belief that you can handle whatever is thrown at you, or know how to get the support you'll need in order to do so. I might have sworn off leadership development programs altogether had I not gotten the support I needed to continue standing up for myself, standing strong in my style of leadership, and further developing my intuition. By fall of 2024, I was invited to participate in the Inclusive Excellence Leadership Program through an organization called Inner Shift. I was open to it, but apprehensive. Before I agreed to participate, I requested a meeting with the founder and facilitator so I could be sure this program would be the right fit for me. The conversation went well, and the program included all the things I love about leadership development: compelling readings, open and deep conversation, a sense of connectedness among our cohort of 12, and expressions of extraordinary hospitality and care. I successfully completed the program in March of 2025. As I was completing this program, I was invited to participate in yet another leadership program through the organization, the Center for Compassionate Leadership. I had been connected to the founder of this program through a group called Empathy Lab. And so I knew this would be an excellent opportunity to further develop my heart-centered style of leadership. So why am I shamelessly plugging these organizations? Because pillar number 4 is all about love. Pillar 4 is heart-centered. Our brains are wired for survival, meaning we tend to focus on the negative as a protective measure. This is not entirely bad, as being aware of red flags in a relationship, whether personal or professional, or in an organization or community, can help us establish needed boundaries and make better decisions about whether or not to connect with certain people or enter certain spaces. However, if all of our decisions are made primarily based on a negative outlook or mental attitude, We may find ourselves doing more avoiding than connecting, more complaining than taking action, and engaging or not engaging based on what we fear instead of what we love. A positive mental attitude can be helpful, encouraging us to see the good, see what's going well, and build relationships based on a belief in the goodness of our fellow humans. However, toxic positivity keeps us from seeing where improvements can be made. It keeps us from taking accountability or holding others accountable, and can leave us without boundaries. Toxic positivity is only seeing good and ignoring errors or opportunities for improvement. It can also keep people in toxic relationships or environments for longer because instead of pointing out errors, we justify them or diminish the potential severity of those toxic traits. And an intentional mental attitude, one in which we make choices based on all relevant information, both positive and negative, I would argue allows us to approach solutions from a more empowered space. However, because we are wired for survival, it can be a good practice to reorient our mind toward what we love and are for versus what we hate and are against. For example, when voting, we might find ourselves voting for a particular person because we are against the other candidate. But can we look at what we don't like and reframe it to what we do? Maybe I'm afraid of losing rights in a certain area of my life. Instead of saying, I'm voting this way because I am afraid of losing X right, consider saying, I'm voting this way because I value my right to X, or because I love what this person stands for. Then name those things. The reason negative ads work, even though we all hate them, is because our brains naturally orient toward the negative. But taking a heart-centered approach to our decision making and training our brain to be more solutions focused and creative instead of defeatist and destructive can help us build a habit of orienting ourselves toward a more compassionate and kind worldview, where we embrace truth and facts, even if those truths are hard to hear or admit. And we're better positioned to explore options and take action or refrain from action based on a comprehensive understanding of a situation. Pillar 5 is voice. When we feel empowered, we are much more likely to use our voice and communicate freely. In our last session, I described a situation where there was a great lack of psychological safety. When an organization lacks psychological safety, people are afraid to speak up, afraid to show up authentically, and afraid to give input. My freshman year of high school, my English teacher was out sick. He was an older man who spoke as slowly as he moved. And I say this because the sub who filled in for him while he was out was a young woman with a hippie vibe who, during one of our classes, literally brought a guitar and sang Sheryl Crow's I Shall Believe off of her album Tuesday Night Music Club. I didn't speak up in class. I was quiet and felt very often disconnected from the more popular people in my class. I had friends, but felt we were kind of the misfits of our class. I wish I could remember the woman's name, but She seemed to quickly pick up on the dynamics of the classroom. Recognizing that I was the quote unquote quiet one, she encouraged me to speak. We were reading Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, and for a couple of classes, she had me read the part of Juliet. Even though I was quiet, I wasn't shy. I had participated in talent shows in middle school and played the evil queen in a musical production of Snow White in third grade. It felt good to be acknowledged, to be seen, and to be asked to use my voice. Some people have an easy time jumping into a conversation, while others take time to warm up to getting to know people and the environment before they feel comfortable jumping in. And there are people, my husband, for example, who do not want all eyes on them ever. If we want to feel free to use our voice, we must also afford others the freedom to use theirs. This may mean paying attention to who's not talking and offering an opportunity for them to speak, or giving space for those to speak who we may not fully agree with. Consider how you're communicating and how you're listening. Again, you can return to the feelings wheel and do an energy check-in when communicating. We won't always get it right, but as we practice more and more, communicating clearly, directly, and from a heart-centered space instead of a place of judgment or anger, our communication carries greater integrity and can lead to more positive outcomes. The same is true when we listen well and give space for others to speak. Voice is not only about talking, it's also about other forms of expression, body language, facial expression, artistic expression, and so on. Pillar 6 is knowledge. As the saying goes, knowledge is power. We have access to a lot of knowledge. However, when we learn how to self-validate, set boundaries, establish and align our values with our actions, and start making decisions more intentionally and from a heart-centered place, we can better discern the area or areas we want to further develop our understanding, skills, and talents. Knowledge is not only academic or technical, but we can also learn from our own personal experiences and the experiences of others. Here in Appleton, Wisconsin, where I live, the city hosts a podcast called Appleton Engaged, where community members can learn about resources, events, and activities that can help improve our residents' quality of life. Often these episodes include stories about people either within the organization or who use the services that are learning opportunities for those who might need the service or might have an interest in supporting the service. So let's journal. First, we'll look at taking a heart-centered approach to decision-making by journaling on what types of activities, what places, and what people you feel loving towards and that make you feel loved. Then, shifting to voice, we'll journal about when you feel most confident to use your voice, or a time you did use your voice that had a positive impact. And journal about what you need in order to listen well. In session 1, we talked about incorporating healthy habits. You might consider which habits allow you to feel more present and thus able to listen well. Then, take a moment to journal about knowledge. What have you recently learned? What do you want to learn? And what is something you learned that shifted your perspective? Remember, knowledge can come from sources both outside of ourselves, books, documentaries, podcasts, research papers, the stories of others, as well as from our own personal experiences and the lessons we learn simply as a result of existing and taking action in our world. I encourage you to take a break either before or after journaling for about 15 minutes or longer before we move into our final pillar. Pause here to journal now. Welcome back. I hope your journaling experience went well and that you enjoyed a bit of a break to rest, hydrate, and maybe eat, depending on what time of day you're participating in this session. Our seventh and final pillar is an integration of both our inner work and our outer work. Pillar 7 is inner wisdom. Inner wisdom is about developing our intuition and being open to epiphany or aha moments through a combination of self-awareness, external knowledge, personal experience, and rest or pause. Our inner wisdom might look like a gut feeling we have about someone or some activity that is confirmed by further observation. We might have a feeling that someone will or will not be a good friend based on minimal information, because experience tells us that when we see a particular pattern of behavior, it indicates that this is or is not a friendly connection. Inner wisdom is developed over time as we make decisions, learn, and become more attuned to our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual responses to the world around us. Feel free to pause here to journal using the prompts listed. What actions have I taken based on a gut feeling? What gut feelings have I ignored? What lessons have I learned from following my gut? And what lessons have I learned from ignoring my gut? Do I celebrate lessons I've learned? We call these empowered mindset practices because we are always in learning mode. However, it's important to pause, rest, and celebrate to train our brain for gratitude and a heart-centered attitude so that we're not only focused on what needs improvement. There is always work to do, so make sure you make time to celebrate where you're at in this moment. And of course, rest. As I've said before, making time for rest is a part of building resilience. Our brains work much better with rest. Pause to journal here. We'll end this retreat with a guided visualization meditation. I hope you have a stronger handle on how to apply the 7 habits to your unique schedule and the 7 pillars to your unique life. This meditation is made to guide your focus toward envisioning how you want to show up in your day. Pause here to meditate now. Thank you for participating in the Empowered Mindset virtual retreat. If you would like to support my work, I invite you to join the Meditation Well Patreon. Membership starts at no cost. However, access to exclusive live stream and recorded practices start at only $7 per month. This webinar is available for free to the public through April 30th, 2025, and will be available to $10 a month members of the Meditation Well Patreon. If you would like to learn more about Yoga Story classes and events, scan the QR code or visit www.yogastorynow.com. Resources that inform this presentation include Brain Anatomy and How the Brain Works, an article in Frontiers in Psychology by the Johns Hopkins Medicine, Dr. Vivek H. Murphy's Our Epidemic of Loneliness and Isolation, the U.S. Surgeon General's Advisory on the Healing Effects of Social Connection and Community, Lucero, Katie Stringer, and Pan Chen, What Do Reinforcement and Confidence Have to Do with It? A systematic pathway analysis of knowledge, competence, confidence, and intention to change, from the Journal of European CME, by Gaurav Bhatia, Good to Great, Jim Collins, An Analysis of Leadership Principles, Meg Palmer's Types of Communication Styles and How to Identify Them, from Southern New Hampshire University, Carol Dweck's Mindset, the New Psychology of Success, James Nestor's Breath, the New Science of a Lost Art, Jon Kabat-Zinn's Full Catastrophe Living, Using the Wisdom of Your Body and Mind to Face Stress, Pain, and Illness, Jocelyn Glei's Manage Your Day Today, Build Your Routine, Find Your Focus, and Sharpen Your Creative Mind, whoops, I have Jon Kabat-Zinn in there twice. It's a great book. Daniel Levitin's The Organized Mind, Thinking Straight in the Age of Information Overload, and Ao Zhu and Jingyi Chen's How Does Psychological Empowerment Prevent Emotional Exhaustion? Psychological Safety and Organizational Embeddedness as Mediators. An article or a research paper from the Frontiers in Psychology. If you have feedback or input to share, please feel free to reach out to me by emailing jess@yogastorynow.com. Let me know how this presentation landed for you, how this retreat landed for you. If you were able to follow along well, felt you got enough breaks, felt good about the quality of the information and how it was delivered. The Empowered Mindset series is largely experimental, and I am open to improvement. Thank you for practicing with me. I wish you an empowered mind, body, and spirit. Peace.